Hello, everyone, and welcome to Centered.Live, where we host real conversations about what grounds us and helps us live with clarity and purpose. Again today, I welcome and introduce Aaron Burgoyne, my son, who is a certified fraud examiner, CPA, a lot of titles you got after your name, right? They don't even put on a business card anymore. So last week we talked about professional skepticism, and it got to be quite an interesting topic, and we had some good comments from people. So we're going to continue on that topic with a little different twist to it. I guess it's more of an extension of it. So we're going to talk about frauds and scams and how important the power of skepticism is in that. So, Aaron, give us an understanding, just a basic understanding of what is fraud.
Fraud at its core is, lying or misrepresenting something. It might be misrepresenting who you are. It might be a misrepresentation of a product or a promise. And one of the main things, so there's a couple things here. Sometimes people will think of like a con man, right? Or fraudster, or there's a lot of different names for the people who go around doing these kinds of scams. And the origin of the word con man comes from the term confidence fraud, where confidence, like trust. When you have confidence in someone, you have trust in someone, or someone is your confidant, you trust them. So a con man comes from confidence fraud, where trust is their main weapon, and they use that trust against you. Now, that's counter to what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that, trust is my shield. Trust is what protects me because I trust this person. But if you give that trust to someone, they then turn it against you as a weapon.
Right. And I guess it's most harmful or most difficult when it's somebody you know.
Exactly.
Or somebody that you've trusted. It could be somebody in your religious community or someone that you've worked with for years. And those are hard because a lot of times they're getting pulled into a scam that they don't even know about, and they're just helping propagate or spread that scam.
Yeah, that's often the case. And so a lot of what the frauds that we're going to talk about today are called affinity frauds, because the target group of either the perpetrator or through another person, through a third person, it's through their affinity, through a religious group or through some other social community, a neighborhood, a family. It's just whoever you associate with. So it's not always strangers that are defrauding you, but it could be someone that you know and that you've given some level of trust.
Right. So it could even be a family member, a grandson, an uncle that goes to a grandparent and says, "Hey, I got this great deal and this investment I'm involved in, and you've got money." And, that can be a dangerous road to go. So,
right.
what kind of investment or what kind of scams are we looking at? Sorry, I read ahead.
No, that's okay. Let's start with investment scams, because that's what I deal with for more than any other kind. Just the nature of my job at the state of Utah, we protect Utah investors against investment scams. Is one of our main priorities. So in these, how they work is, I'll talk about two main types. There's the one where it's a proprietor that says, "Hey, I've got this business. It can really get off the ground. I just need some money to get it off the ground, to buy this piece of equipment that will then get things going, or maybe it just needs some sort of working capital to get things going." And then they receive the money from the investor, and then they kind of just stop talking to the investor. And turns out they actually just blew the money. They just spent it on themselves. And we might call this embezzlement because they were trusted, they were a fiduciary of these funds, and they misused it for their personal use instead of for the business purpose. I'd said there was two, but maybe I'll say there's a third one.
Okay.
Another one is where they say, oh, I'm going to invest your money in this other project. So it may not be in a business that they themselves have, but they say, hey, I'm going to invest your money in something else. You're going to get a great return. And, you don't have to do anything. It's completely passive. And so they take your money and you believe that they will invest it in something else, and they may not. They just, again, take it for themselves. So those are both similar, but one goes into a separate investment and one may be their own business.
So let's flip that and say, what are some signs of some legitimate investments?
Well, when you're deciding to do an investment, you want to check to make sure that the person is licensed, that they are licensed to sell investments, that that the offering that they're giving you, this investment offering, that it's registered with either state regulators or the SEC. And you want to make sure that they tell you, they need to give you details. If there's someone that doesn't give you details, that's a huge red flag. You need to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Some people, they might say, oh, well, we've got this secret system. We're able to beat the market every time, and it's proprietary, and we can't really tell you much about what it's about. That's our trade secrets, and don't do it. Those are some big red flags. So you need to know how your money is going to be used. And you need to know how the investment generates returns. How does the business, or how does the investment actually make a profit? Because that is where your investment is going to grow. It should grow based on the business's profits or the investment's profits. And I guess that is a nice segue into the other kind of investment fraud that a lot of people hear about and may not know the definition of, and that is a Ponzi scheme, where in a normal investment, your investment grows based on the profit that an investment makes or that a company generates. But in a Ponzi scheme, there is very little, if any, profit in this business, and any returns, quote unquote, returns that you see are actually just other people's investment funds that are coming to you rather than being used in the investment to generate a profit.
So, and then later we're going to talk about pyramid schemes and how they're different from a Ponzi scheme. But
yes,
okay, that's something to look forward to in a few minutes.
Yeah, well, because I want to mention that just now because a lot of people think that pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes are the same thing, and they are not. Some people use them interchangeably, and they're not. They're not the same. So we'll talk about pyramid schemes later.
Okay. Now I see the next one is a interesting topic. I think it's because of modern technology. We have cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and Ponzi schemes are named after Charles Ponzi from about 100 or so years ago, and they definitely didn't have crypto scams back then. With every new technology, with every new thing that there is a hype, with anything that comes out new, there is definitely people try to take advantage of the hype because they know that people are going to be interested in cryptocurrency or AI or some of the buzzwords that are going around, passive income, investing in real estate and things like that. All these things are what scammers kind of hone in on. And cryptocurrency is an excellent example of that because not everyone really understands how it works.
I'm in technology and I'm not sure how it works.
Right. And I've taken courses on it, and I've become certified to an extent in how to trace cryptocurrency and understanding it. And I don't understand all of it.
Yeah.
And so very, from the general population, very few people really understand it. But more and more people are interested in investing in it, even though they don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think, from a technology standpoint, the blockchain that is the underlying technology that cryptocurrencies use is very good. It's a very good system for identifying and verifying a user or a transaction or a contract. And
Agreed.
I think that, unfortunately, cryptocurrencies built on that has been what has been so well known, but there's so many other things that could be developed on that blockchain that we haven't heard about.
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people are attracted to cryptocurrency because they say, "Oh, it's not regulated," and so there's a freer market and 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 things like that. But that's also the other side of the coin of that is that it's not regulated,
Hmm.
and so if you are scammed, then there's less recourse for you.
Yeah.
And these transfers are irreversible. And while they can be traced if you have the right technology, if you don't have that technology, it can be pretty difficult to trace.
Hmm.
Um, but cryptocurrency can be traced. I know a few years ago it came out that it can't be, but it can.
Right.
So anyway, so a couple different scenarios with cryptocurrency. Sometimes people might say, okay, buy cryptocurrency and then send it to me as an investment or for some other reason. Or they may say that I'm going to give, as an investor, I might give my money to someone to invest in cryptocurrency, and they may not.
Yeah. How about these little signs you see along the road that people say, invest in cryptocurrency with my money?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I would not do that.
Well, first of all, I used to be licensed as a registered broker because I had a job that required it, even though I didn't sell stocks.
Hmm.
I was in an IT position where I had to have that, but I never sold stocks. I didn't want to. It was kind of ugly to me, but tedious.
Yeah.
But what was the point I was getting to?
I don't know. The cryptocurrency, the signs.
Yeah, all the little signs are saying, "Well, here, invest my money." Well, I'm not licensed to invest for you, so I can't do that. And I felt like
Mhm.
calling them number and saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" Yeah. Okay, so you're going to give me money and you want me to invest it? I'm not licensed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, at the Division of Securities, they used to call them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now they're entirely complaint driven because we just have
Um,
to. We've got too much work to do. But when they were needing work, they used to go out and call them and look for those types of things and be a little more proactive that way. But we're just swamped now.
yeah.
um, okay, so the next one I think is probably a much better known scam. Some people might call them sweetheart scams, but
Mhm.
generally they are relationship scams because it might be more than just a romantic type of relationship. These can come up in various different ways. So online, or maybe a text. What do you call it? A wrong number text
Mm.
message where they just seem friendly, and so you chat with them for a while, and then they develop a relationship, maybe romantic or not, friendship, any sort of relationship, um, and they develop a trust with you. They use that trust to then exploit you.
Yeah.
Um, and they may start small, just be like, "Oh man, my 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 boss says he can't get me my paycheck till next week, and it's really a bummer." And if I just had $50, and you'll be like, "Oh, $50, that's a little thing." And then you give them $50, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much," and you saved my life, and whatever it is. And then, a few weeks later, then it might be a little bit bigger. Oh, I got to take my dog to the vet, and over the relationship, you know that you love dogs, and so you
Uh,
feel for the dog, and so transfer them $300, and it can take a while, but eventually these relationship scams can take a lot of money from some people. And it's a really sad situation because not only are they mourning the hurting because of the financial loss, but also they're mourning this friendship that they thought they had.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they find out that it's not real. And it is difficult to convince some people
Mm,
that the relationship that they've had is not real.
right. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, and in my career is in IT. Over the years, I've been in different positions where I've had to investigate why a computer was taken over, why it had malware or viruses, and some of those actually lead back to a scam. Somebody that convinced somebody to let them into their computer, and they blocked their screen and said something like, "Oh, I got disconnected for a minute. Can you make sure you're on your internet? Maybe check your internet connection." And while they're doing that, they actually see the screen and can manipulate things on your computer that way.
Hmm.
And it's difficult because a lot of people are trusting. They claim to be they're calling, claim to being from their bank or Microsoft, or
Microsoft IT or something.
yeah, I'm your IT support. Yeah, we found a virus on your computer. We need to get it off.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are those are things where somebody in a position of power or supposedly a relationship took control over. Maybe that's not exactly the same as what you're thinking is.
I mean, it's similar. It's
Yeah,
um, it's just it's exploiting a weakness, and that weakness may be loneliness,
yeah,
um, or it could be a weakness, or just I need help with my computer. Oh, here's someone who says they can help with my computer.
mm,
So it's a relief for them. They welcome them in to take this burden off of them.
yeah,
Um, and then that trust is exploited and used against you. So just a couple more notes about relationship scams. They can also involve cryptocurrency. A lot of them. I mean, still, it's a hype thing, or investments, um, because just in the course of the relationship, the quote unquote relationship, they may say, "Oh, I'm doing pretty well."
mm,
Because I've been investing in cryptocurrency. It's been really great for me. And they testify about all the great things that this investment has done for them. And then pretty soon the victim's like, well, maybe I should do that, but I don't know how. And they're like, oh, it's great. I can do it for you. You don't have to do a thing.
right. Yeah, in fact, just last week I was talking to a fellow that wanted an automated system for investing in cryptocurrency. He says, "Oh, I know of the system, and it'll be AI driven, and it'll invest for you. And this guy's going to do it for me. I'm just going to send him a few $1,000s." And I'm going, "Don't do that." "Oh, but he's done it before. He showed me his success." And I'm going, "Doesn't matter."
That's a good side note, real quick, that some of these scammers, they will be so confident in their scam that they'll be willing to release a little bit of money back so that you actually have a gain to develop that trust.
Mm,
So like if you invest 1,000 with them, say you send them $1,000 in cryptocurrency, and then they actually send $2,000 back in cryptocurrency. So you've just got a 100% return. You
yeah.
could just walk away, but they are betting that you don't.
Mm,
They're betting that you're going to come back and double down, say, okay, I'll give you the 2,000 back, double it again.
right.
And it doesn't.
Right. All right. Now, employment scams. I have seen this where, in fact, it happens in IT a lot, where you can run a business from your home, and all you have to do is buy this equipment. You have to buy this computer. You have to buy um, this system, this credit card machine, all that. Once you buy that, then you're going to be in business, and we'll help you make money. But the money never comes, or you didn't perform right, so you don't get your commissions, or whatever the reason is there, you're not going to get paid for your work, and there's nothing there. There's nothing real.
Yeah, so either they get free labor from you short term, or they might have you, maybe use your own personal credit card or apply for a new credit card to purchase product or equipment to send to them as part of their job, and they promise to reimburse you, but then they don't. And then you're out that money because that credit card is under your name. Those
Right.
purchases were under your name, and you approved that shipment.
Yeah. Now, another one that you've got on your list here, I'm cheating, moving ahead, check fraud.
That's okay. Yeah.
The Tom Hanks movie.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can with DiCaprio. Yeah. That was a fascinating movie, supposedly based on a true story, but we learned that even the fraudster can defraud the frauding people that thought it was a fun fraud story.
Yeah, they found out it was elaborated. Some facts were true, but it was definitely elaborated. Yeah, so check fraud. I saw this a lot when I worked at a credit union. We were warned against it, and so how this scam works is that someone, maybe they buy something from you, or they owe you something, so they send you a check, and the check looks good. It's even got one of those heat things, that you rub on the heat thing and it disappears, and then you wait 2 seconds and it reappears.
Yep.
So the check looks good because guess what? Anyone can print a check. A fake check is a real check. I mean, there's no difference. The only difference is whether the numbers at the bottom actually go to a valid account with money in it. That's really the only difference. So anyway, someone might send you this check, and let's say that you bought something from them, or they're buying something from you, and they give you the check, and it's way too much. And then they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My assistant, she made a mistake. She paid you too much. You go ahead and deposit that, and just send me back the difference." So then what happens is, if it's $1,000 check and you were supposed to keep 300 of it, so you cut a real check you deposit it in your account, you cut a real check for $700, send the check away, or maybe a money order or a cashier's check that's guaranteed funds, and then they get the real $700 while you have a $1,000 check that bounces, that is no good,
and you're out the whole $1,000. Well,
right. Well, you're out the 700,
the balance that you sent them.
Right. Yeah. So
I actually, I didn't fall for it, but I got caught in one of those about 20 years ago. I was doing IT consulting, and I had somebody call up claiming to be from an IT service broker, and they had somebody in my hometown that needed some help, and they wanted to send me $200 ahead of time to go and then help this person. I thought, okay, great, send me the money. So I get this check, and the check was not in the name of the company or person that they called me. And at the time, I had a P.O. box over at the post office, and I opened it right there in the post office, and I took it up to the cash register, and I says, "I think this is fraud. How do I find out?" And she looked at it, and her eyes get big, and she goes, "Let me get the postmaster." He came and had a whole crime report that he filled out and asked me all these questions.
Wow.
They had texted me, they had emailed me, so I gave him all that information, and he just says, "Don't reply to anything. If they call, if they email, if they text you, just don't reply." And they did. They tried to guilt me out of sending them the money that I owed them, because the check was for $2,000, not $200. So I would have been out the $1,800 to send that back to him. But luckily, I caught that and avoided it.
That's great. That's a great story. Yeah, so I've got a story of my own, not from personal experience. I mean, well, it happened while I was at the credit union.
Okay.
There was a young woman that that approached the teller window, and she looked kind of, I don't know, I don't know, she looked hesitant to be there. And she gave us the check, and it was for, I don't know, $2,000 or something like that. And I said, okay, you want this in your checking account? And she's like, yeah. And even though these checks are real checks, I mean, there's not really a difference between a real check and not. We can kind of figure out which ones might be scams. I mean, sometimes we're wrong, but we're trained to look for that as tellers. And so there was a couple things on the check that kind of stood out to me as being, okay, I need to ask some more questions here. And so I asked her, I said, do you know who this is from? And that was all it took for her to say, you know what, I need to ask some questions about this.
Oh.
I am actually selling a wedding dress, and I'm supposed to ship it to them. And so they sent me this. It's way too much. And so they wanted me to use some of it to ship the dress, but then also to send them some money back. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is a check fraud scam.
Oh, wow.
I'm very sorry. But your dress is not sold. Now, this could have gone really bad, because not only would she be out of some money, but she would have lost her wedding dress. But we saved, we caught it in time.
Yeah, good. Wow.
So
yeah, I think a lot of the online classified ad type services are just open to those kinds of scams. People are wanting to sell something and get paid and don't know any better.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want to mention as we wrap up? Any last thoughts? Any principles?
Well, we didn't get back to pyramid schemes.
Oh,
I thought maybe you skipped it on purpose.
No, I didn't.
So how is a pyramid scheme different than a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah.
Well, so oftentimes with a pyramid scheme, it's pitched to you kind of as your own business. It's a business opportunity. All you got to do is buy this initial starter kit that's, $600 or $1,000 or something that's pretty steep. But they know that if you sell enough products, then you'll be able to recoup that money. And then after that, it's just selling products as all profit. So you can go that way. That's the hard route. The easier route is that if you find more people to also have a business with you, to also sell these products, then when they buy their starter kit, you can get $1,000 or $100 from that. And then if you paid only $600 for the starter kit, if you get 6 more people to join, then you'll be able to recoup your costs just by recruiting people instead of the slow way of selling the products.
Interesting. Yep.
So then in this scheme, there's it's built like a pyramid. You've got the company at the top, and then you've got the higher level people, and then they're trying to recruit people under them. And then they might try to recruit people under them. And so it just creates this big pyramid that everyone is recruiting all their friends, and the company is getting all this money from the starter kits, but not much product is actually being sold.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my youth, I did something similar to that, and I just never sold anything. I never recruited anybody, and I just lost my $600.
Yeah, well, I remember I was about 18, and I was pitched this. I was pitched something. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
was probably I don't know, but a friend came over and he was telling me about it, and there was a person that he had heard it from, and they were telling me all about it, and I'm just like, no, I didn't feel good about it.
You had that little wise feeling in you that said, crazy.
Yes, my conscience or
Your conscience. Yeah.
whatever. But it was like, no, this is a bad idea. It didn't fit with how I felt like the world should work. And so that's what prevented me from doing it. And come to find out that that just was wisdom, because
Yeah.
that's not how the world works. So now some of our listeners out there may be wondering, okay, well, what about multi-level marketing? Because what you described kind of sounds like multi-level marketing,
Yeah.
which is structured very similarly. But I would say that there's a difference, and where a pyramid scheme focuses on recruitment, where there is no real income generation, it's just more and more people coming into the group, and where the the big business is raking in all the money.
Right.
In a multi-level marketing company, there is actually a legitimate product that is a good product. People are buying the product, and there's more of a focus on actually selling the product rather than recruitment. While there is some recruitment, the focus is on product
Still the
sales.
product. Okay.
So that's how I would distinguish between them.
Yeah, the product is the key if it's
Mhm.
on the product. Okay.
So not to say that all multi-level marketing companies are bad. That's just so I had to put that out there.
Yeah, and it's just not my preferred way of doing business, but
It's not mine either. I mean, even when it is legit with multi-level marketing,
mhm.
um, they are the company is using you for your network. It's called network marketing, as another way. And so you market this to your friends and family and neighbors and things, but
Yep.
your pool of who you sell to dries up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then so you might have some initial sales that make you feel really good, but if they're not repeat customers, maybe they're buying from you just to be nice or something, but it dries up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it may not be a long-term solution. So maybe not a scam,
Right.
but not the maybe not all the promises of making it rich like you might
Right.
believe.
It may not be a good strong business model for you to put in, your whole efforts into.
Right.
Okay, so now are we ready to wrap up?
Yes, now we can wrap up.
So just a couple of key principles that I wanted to kind of reinforce is ask a lot of questions, be cautious of upfront fees, and like you said, verify licenses for investments. I don't know, what else do you think would you add to kind of the wrap up?
I'd say to be skeptical of new online relationships. I think a lot of people they become friends with people online, and it's fine when you have certain rules in place, But among those rules should be don't send money to those people.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
another thing I just thought of is Warren Buffett, one of the world's most famous investor, I think, right? Or at least he's pretty successful at it.
mhm.
It's never invest in things you don't understand.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I remember him talking once, and he says, "Now, Gerber baby food, I understand that. It's on the shelf, and you have a package and a little, bottle of food, and it's good, and it's good for the baby." But then he says, "Computers, I don't understand. And it's not that I don't like them. It's just that I don't understand the business. So I'm not going to invest in computers." And Bill Gates actually gave him some Microsoft stock so that he could say, "Warren, that's my company." So,
Mm. Well, and then the final takeaway is that if there's something that you don't understand, if there's any doubts, if you're asking questions and you're just not getting resolution, then just don't engage.
Mm.
Don't invest. Don't move forward. They may try to up the ante and guilt you into it, or put pressure on you, but you know what? You can walk away. You won't be out anything. Don't be afraid to be a little rough
Yeah.
with people that you might have considered to be your friends,
Mm.
but draw a hard line and just say no. I'm sorry. I don't give money to people that I haven't met in person, and that's just a line that I won't cross.
Good closing thoughts. So thank you, Aaron, for being my guest these past 2 weeks, and your experience and wisdom and skepticism and fraud. I like to tell people my son's an expert in fraud. Fraud investigation, I'll clarify.
Yeah, well, I also teach it as well.
Oh, good.
Fraud investigation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, overall scams work because people don't ask enough questions. So stay curious, stay cautious, and of course, as our theme here, stay centered in your life. So we'll see you next time on Centered.Live, and be sure to share if you think somebody that needs this kind of advice. And also like and follow us wherever you see this posted. We're now on the podcast network. So if you've got a podcast app like Spotify or Apple, we're listed there. So we're excited to have that as a new feature. So again, thanks, Aaron, and we'll sign off for now, and we'll see y'all later.